What's up everybody, this is Danny, and today we're going to take a look at the brand new Huawei P20 and the P20 Pro. I'm going to unbox them both, compare them, and show you the difference between them to help you with the buying decision. And on top of that, I'm going to show you some examples of what these cameras can do. The P20 and P20 Pro come in a bunch of different colors, but the one that's making the headlines is this twilight color. It has a gradient to it where it mixes between the purples and blues. It's such a unique color, and the best way to explain it is it looks like custom chameleon paint that some people get on their cars, but classier. Along with the phone, you get a SIM card removal tool, some paperwork, you also get a USB-C cord, you also get some USB-C headphones, which is a nice inclusion, and you get a USB-C to 3.5mm adapter because both of these phones do not have headphone jacks, and you get a power brick that supports Huawei Supercharge, which is one of the fastest on the market right now. When it comes to the box contents, both the P20 and P20 Pro come with the exact same accessories, so no differences there, but the pricing varies by countries since it's not coming to the US right now. I can't equate this to dollars, but the P20 should be about 650 euros and the P20 Pro should be about 900 euros, which is a pretty large gap. So let's talk about the major differences that you're going to care about on these phones, and I feel like the P20 Pro is the one to buy, and let me show you why. The P20 and P20 Pro both have the same resolution 18.7:9 aspect ratio displays, and both have the notch that people are going to either love or hate. And if you hate it, you can disable it in the settings, which is nice, but the P20 is an LCD panel while the P20 Pro is an OLED panel, and both are nice looking displays, and I might even argue that the P20 has the punchier colors and is even the brighter panel, but my preference is the P20 Pro. It does have the larger 6.1-inch display compared to the 5.8-inch display of the P20, and the phone is slightly larger and it's only slightly thicker, and I also feel that the colors are more balanced with better contrast. These panels aren't as saturated or as bright as the Galaxy S9 Plus, for example, but you do have nice flexibility in the settings to get it to look the way you like. And I like the P20 Pro also because it has the larger 4000 milliamp hour battery compared to the 3400 milliamp hour battery on the P20, so better battery life, which I care a lot about. And it also has 6 GB of RAM compared to the 4 GB of RAM on the P20, so slightly better performance and multitasking here. And the P20 Pro has the intriguing triple camera system on the back, while the P20 has the more traditional dual camera system, but more on that later. What I am super disappointed with is that the dual speaker system is only on the P20 Pro, and the P20 just gets a single down-firing speaker, which you can easily cover up with just a finger.
To keep it nice and secure on your desk, and you have 2 vents to let the heat out, which we'll talk about later, but getting inside is super easy.
And if you want that IR blaster for controlling your TV and AV equipment or trolling hard while you are out, you will only see that on the P20 Pro and not the P20. And if that wasn't enough, the P20 Pro also gets IP67 water resistance, so if you drop it in the pool, you're gonna be just fine. But with the P20, it only has a splash resistance of IP53, so you'll have to be more careful around water. They both have a whopping 24 megapixel f2.0 camera sensor on the front-facing camera, and they both are able to do portrait selfies, so the quality is the same between both, which isn't fantastic so far, but I'll let you know in the full review. And also, these are the first Huawei phones to come with face unlock. It's super fast, you won't even notice it'll unlock so fast, and surprisingly it works in lower light conditions too, which is nice. So while it might not be the most secure, the convenience is nice, and if you don't want to use that, they both have fast fingerprint scanners below the display. They are both running Android 8.1 out of the box, which is really nice to see, and they both get EMUI 8.1 skin on top. It's exactly what you would expect to see from a Huawei phone in terms of software. There's some bloat on there, lots of features that are useful, a lot of features that aren't, but I do usually throw Nova Launcher on there and call it a day. It gives me that stock look that I love. It makes it a little bit easier to use. But if you want to see some top features of EMUI, I did a separate video on that, so I'll leave that linked so you can check it out. There are no SD card slots here, but they both come with 128 gigabytes of storage, and about 110 gigabytes are free, so that will definitely do for most people. When it comes to power, they are both powered by the Kirin 970 chipset with the Mali G72 MP12 GPU. This is the same power that we saw on the Mate 10 and Mate 10 Pro. It's a very capable chipset, but I thought new chipsets would be dropped with these phones. But regardless, there's plenty of power here to give you a smooth experience. The only difference here is the 6 GB of RAM on the P20 Pro. And AI is something that Huawei pushes a lot, and it does show in the software. You notice it most on the camera app, where it automatically detects what type of scene you are taking a picture of, and it tweaks the colors, saturation, and contrast to give you the best picture without you doing anything. So here is the major difference that I think could be the decision maker for most people interested in one of these phones, and that is the difference between the two camera systems. The P20 has a dual camera setup with a 12 megapixel main sensor with f1.8 aperture and a secondary 20 megapixel monochrome sensor with f1.6 aperture featuring 2x optical zoom. The P20 Pro has the triple camera system with an insane 40 megapixel main sensor with f1.8 aperture, a 20 megapixel monochrome f1.6 secondary camera, and also a third 8 megapixel telephoto lens with f2.4 aperture that gives you a crazy 3x optical zoom, and it can also use sensor cropping to give you a mind-blowing 5x hybrid zoom, and while you have to be pretty still, the results are very usable. On top of that, a recent teardown shows that all three of these lenses are optically stabilized, so this is some next level hardware here. Both have absolutely legendary stabilization when it comes to taking video. It reminds me of the Google Pixel 2 how smooth it is, but there's a huge catch. When you record in 4K resolution, you lose the hybrid stabilization. I hope this can be fixed in a future update. This is really disappointing for sure, since 4K is pretty much a standard in 2018. And there is no 4K 60 frames per second option, which we have seen on most high-end flagship smartphones released in 2018 so far. But it's not all bad news, because both of these phones get 960 frames per second super slow motion. It's really fun to play with, and even though it's only 720p, it's really cool to have this. You're gonna have a lot of fun with this. So one of the questions that I got asked a lot is there really a big enough difference between these two phones on image quality? I honestly don't see a huge difference when comparing most images, but there are some slight differences. I noticed usually the P20 Pro has the brighter shot, and I feel like there's better depth of field or background separation without any of the modes, just auto. These are the same shots from the exact same distance, but sometimes the P20 just has the better overall exposed shot. They do go back and forth, but I think the P20 Pro overall takes the better photos. The P20 Pro does have a 40 megapixel mode, but you do lose the zoom features of the camera when you use this, and while it does have more detail when you're cropping in, and I do think some of the pictures have a smoother and better processed look when using 40 megapixels, there is a reason why Huawei defaults the P20 Pro to the 10 megapixel mode, because most of the time the pictures come out better without the slight lag in the camera app while using the 40 megapixel mode. It is pretty crazy that you can take 40 megapixel raw images on a smartphone, so if you want that ability, then the Pro is the way to go, but for most consumers, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I do like that 3x zoom on the Pro versus the 2x zoom on the P20, but that's all personal preference, and that 5x hybrid zoom is just insane. They both have portrait mode on the front and rear cameras. They have wide aperture mode, a pro mode to dial in that perfect shot, monochrome mode for those super sharp and artistic black and whites, night mode, so all those features are there on both. Low light is fantastic on both of these cameras, but I do feel that the P20 Pro takes slightly better shots. I feel like the super sampling is making the pictures brighter and a little sharper, and I noticed this consistently during my testing. The night mode is pretty cool. It's on both of the cameras, and it's basically a long exposure shot, but you don't need a tripod. You just hold it in your hand. It uses AI to fuse all these exposures together to give you incredible highlight and shadow detail and dynamic range in lower light conditions and harsh light conditions. But I do feel like the night mode is better on the P20 Pro. It produces the brighter image with better color reproduction, The P20's colors seem oversaturated for some reason, but that could easily be fixed with a software update, but I do feel like the super sampling on the P20 Pro's larger sensor makes a difference when it comes to low light. So I hope this video helped you in making a buying decision. I personally think that the P20 Pro is a better package all around due to the bigger OLED display, dual speaker system, more RAM, the slightly better and more flexible triple camera system, and a larger, longer lasting battery. But if you save some money on the P20, I wouldn't blame you either, because you do get a very similar experience. You just need to know what you're sacrificing for the savings in cash. Let me know which one you prefer or which one you're picking up in the comment section below. Subscribe for a lot more videos like this one and more P20 and P20 Pro coverage, including full comparisons, camera tests, and full reviews, and much more. And I will see you guys in the next one.